Morning folks, it's a nice cool day out here in Vancouver again. It's been like this the whole weekend. It's a little bit rainy and generally cold. It's a cold wind. As you can see, I got a jacket on. I'm still wearing shorts, but hey, staying in house most of the time. Anyway, today I want to talk about flagpoling. So flagpoling is a way where you can get your work permits and things processed a lot quicker. I know specifically about work permits. I don't know if it works for PRs. I believe it's mostly work permits or only work permits, but it's actually worth looking at. So if you've applied for a work permit, basically what you got to do is you get your approval, you get your LMIA. So you get a letter that says you're okay to get a work permit, but then you still have to process the work permit. Now generally, if you're in South Africa or wherever in the world, you will have to either mail it into the consulate or you have to take it to the consulate, and then they put it through a process and they go through all the paperwork and they stamp it and then they send it back to you. Now from what I believe in South Africa, it can take up to 3 months, last time I heard, to process your work permit, because it's got to go to the consulate, it's got to go through all the bells and whistles and hoops, and everybody needs to look at it, and it's got a process that it has to follow. But flagpoling is a way to process your work permit in an hour, and that is if you are in Canada. That only works if you're in Canada already, or if you can get to Canada without the work permit. So in other words, if you're here on a visitor's visa, if you're in Canada legally, visitor's visa, you're working here from before, or student visa or whatever, a lot of people use it to renew their work permits. If you're here legally, what you do is you leave Canada at one of the land border posts and you go to the USA. But when you go to the USA, before you go into the US, on the US side, you basically tell them that, listen guys, I'm just flagpoling. I don't want to actually go into the US. And then what they do is they send you back to the Canadian border. But because you're going back to the Canadian border, you now have to go through Canadian Border Patrol again, or border post again. And when you go through that border post, you tell them that you just want to process your work permit, you've got a work permit. And then they do it right there on the spot. It takes about an hour, hour and a half sometimes, depending on how busy they are. When we went through, it was actually very quick because there was nobody there. It took like, I don't know, 45 minutes to process the work permit, stamp it, get it in your book, in your passport, you're all good to go. So it's actually quite handy. There are a couple of things though. You don't have to like turn around at the US border. Basically the rule states that you have to be in Canada legally. You can go to the US, so you have to leave Canada, but not to anywhere else, just to the US. And then when you come back from the US, if you have not been anywhere else while you were in the US, if you come back from the US, they can process your work permit. So a lot of people don't necessarily let themselves turned around at the US border. They actually go into the US, go spend a day there, do some shopping, whatever, and come back. In our case, it was pure luck that we could flagpole. Amazing how the world works. So what happened was, we were on holiday in Canada the year before, at the end of 2019. We visited friends up in Montreal. They had a house there, so we were on holiday with them. And then from there, we came back to the US. We never left the US. We were in the US for the whole year, well, 9 months, 11 months. And then I came back, I wanted to get my work permit. So when I drove through the border, they were like, okay, cool. So you were in Canada legally on a visitor's visa. Then you left, you stayed in the US the whole time, and now you're coming back into Canada. So you're good, flagpoling, stamp, off you go. So flagpoling, look at it. If you do have a work permit and you do have a visitor's visa, sometimes that's a quicker way of processing your work permit than actually, or if you're approved for a work permit, your LMIA is approved. Labor market impact assessment. So that's the main thing. In our case, what they did is we applied for a labor market impact assessment. They came back, they said, we're good if this guy comes and works here for 2 years. But that doesn't actually allow you to get in. The LMIA letter you can't come in with it, you still need to get your work permit. But like I said, I could flagpole, and then if I rock up with my LMIA letter at the border, plus a bunch of other paperwork, they process the work permit right there. Don't forget it, flagpoling. If you ever need to get a work permit, go read up on flagpoling.